Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to my channel. This is Coach DC from All 22 Films. I've got a film study that's going to focus here on Blake Miller, the rookie right tackle, first round pick, in fact, for the Detroit Lions. But to a lesser extent, I'm going to talk about Christian Mahogany, Seth McLaughlin, and Miles Frazier, the guys along the interior who had some positives and obviously some lowlights in the form of the two guards combining for, I believe, 5 penalties. So this first one will be from the opening possession for Detroit. It's a 2nd and 10. The way the Bengals play this, it makes it pretty simple, to be honest with you, for Mahogany. The left tackle is going to step out. This Larry Borum is going to step out to the defensive end, edge defender, Boye Mafe. And Jacob Sailors, in this kind of canted stance that he uses, I'm going to mention this a bunch of times, he's initially stepping to his right-hand side, and then he'll bring this run back through the weak side B gap. And when I say it's easy, what I'm talking about, or simple, what I'm talking about is the boundary side inside linebacker 44 kind of crossing the midline. They're asking this guy, who's not a part of the magnification, to come downhill quickly and defend this B gap. I'm not saying that that's not, you can't do that ever. It's a 2nd down, and so Cincinnati is in their nickel defensive look. And you'll see that Isaac Tesla shows up a little bit late. Well, not late as far as the actual play, but late after I having it paused and spot shadowed. This safety is really late coming downhill if that's what they're asking him to do. You can see that there's a huge gap there, but the Bengals really have a gap problem. They're at a gap deficit, if you will, by playing this nickel look against 12 personnel. What I mean is 2 tight ends here, and they're doing it because it's 2nd down, mind you. 2nd and 10 to be precise. So 2 tight ends set up to the right-hand side. That's where the nickel defender is. The gap problem is this. You've got 2 inside linebackers who could potentially fill these 2 gaps here or these 2 gaps here in some form or fashion. If they do it this way, post-snap, once the play gets rolling, then of course Jacob Sailors could read that, and he could end up going directly in between those linebackers in the middle of the front side A gap. That's not what happens. He cuts it back through the B gap. As far as Blake Miller goes, he's really good at scooping people on the backside. Now, this isn't necessarily a scoop, to be honest with you. He's just trying to fight to get his head across. We're talking about Blake Miller here, first stepping with his play side foot, his left foot. Frazier, not a part of the double team, so calling this duo is a little bit unusual. I do think there's 2 times in the first half where Frazier's steps look wrong to me based on my knowledge, but this works out for Detroit for a lot of reasons. Quite simple combo, double team for Mahogany and McLaughlin because the inside linebacker 44 disappeared. 44 climbed over the top here, opens up that cutback for Sailor, and you will hear me mention it a handful of times during the course of this video. His stance is kind of canted. And at first I thought it was dependent on the direction of the run play. Basically, any left side run concept, his stance was canted. But I found enough examples, to indicate that that's not true. It's just the stance that they're asking him to use. I would say it's bladed. It's somewhat bladed by about 5 to 8 degrees. This will be from that same first possession, the initial 3rd down that the Lions and Luke Altmaier faced in the first quarter. To be honest with you, I'll have a little bit less to say about the center than everyone else. So I'll get that out of the way a little bit here. He's very good at combos. He works with both guards well, whether it's a run play or in pass protection. I feel like there's great communication between those guys. To me, he's prepared at the NFL level for the mental and the recognition / awareness demands. Where he would have a relative weakness, in my opinion, would be one-on-one blocks, but that should be expected by a guy who would, came into camp as your backup center. But in any case, this is a really quick conversion by Altmaier into the boundary. The will linebacker who spot shadowed or magnified there, the same guy who cut across the midline last time, he's responsible for Sailors in man. He's not able to get there because of a screen / rub, whatever you want to call it, that occurs here. There actually is no contact, but it forces the inside linebacker 44 to go underneath. Basically, they've created a lane between this tight end and this wide receiver. This is very similar to some stuff that Ben Johnson used to do. Andy Reid specializes in it, basically forcing you to go over the top of this tight end, underneath of this receiver, whatever he is positionally. I think it's a wide receiver. And that puts you at a leverage deficit to go get the running back. And in this case, Sailors gets a 1st down. But let's talk about Miller on this particular play. I feel like his feet and his hands really line up or sync up well. And I'm talking about This punch that occurs with his outside hand while his left foot is in the ground planted, he's able to get a ton of strength and extension on his arm against Myles Murphy. I feel like a couple of times in this first half, Myles Murphy late is able to start to maybe jerk, so grab Miller late and then shed him to one side and try to swim over the top. It's inconsequential as far as the result of this play completely, all right? But it's something that Murphy tried multiple times in this first half, and so I wonder if other defensive linemen, looking at Blake Miller's film over the course of the season, but in particularly early in 2026, if they're going to try to do a little bit sooner during the play to see if it'll work. I think Miller does everything well. He's got multiple set styles. He really, the more I watch him, he reminds me of a bigger, stronger Roger Rosengarten, who came into the NFL as a rookie, I think 2023, light, but very athletic and quick, with a variety of pass sets that he could use, and he was effective with each of them. I feel like Miller is probably the better player. That makes sense, right? He was a first-round pick, whereas Rosengarten was late in the second. All right, we're still into the first possession here. It's a 1st and 10. I think a 23-yard gain down at the bottom side of the screen. It's a play-action concept with 3 players involved in the route. Okay, Tesla at the bottom. In addition, Cedric Wilson, the veteran wide receiver, I think he's 29 or 30 years old, who's been with the Miami Dolphins for a while. And then the running back off the play action is going to release to that side as well. Cedric Wilson is the orange route there. I would call it a sail concept, but sail flood will be fine too. Wilson's an interesting player. Never really had a ton of production as far as catches, but a guy who I remember making plays against the Ravens, among others. So I think that Miller is jumping Myles Murphy here. Jump means instead of taking a little bit of an angle, whether it's A angle, B angle, C angle, whatever, people have different terms that they use, and I've even seen the inverse. But in any case, he's taking a flat angle to Murphy. And again, you see late in the play, Murphy trying to snatch and then jerk away from Miller. And in fact, on the delivery, he's able to possibly disrupt the throw from Altmyer. I think there's a reason why this is happening late on this particular play. It's smart by Blake Miller. He understands that it's play action. He understands where the read side is down here to his side. And so I think he's putting himself in a position by taking that jump set or jump-ish set to make sure that if he loses late. He's got a very good anchor, in my opinion, 6'6", 220, or 320, excuse me, probably almost 325 pounds at this point. Really nice throw from Altmyer, with a lot of time on his hands. It's another 12 personnel concept. I talked about it in the play action concept, out of 12 personnel. I talked about it in the reaction video Thursday night, whereby in our tracking, we had 17 plays for the Lions out of 12 personnel. 11 of them were pass plays, and 6 of them were runs. The play action was extremely effective. Unfortunately for the Lions, this possession ended one play later. That was the interception that went through Tesla's hands and was picked off by the safety, Jordan Battle. We're into the second possession here. I'm only going to focus this film study video on the first half, which was when Blake Miller played. An F counter concept on 1st and 10. Murphy and Mahogany and the center, McLaughlin, actually step on each other's feet here. Murphy is really going to bottle or jam this play up. I like what Miller does off the backside. It's an F counter concept, so that means that the guard, the backside guard is pulling. In this case, it's the right guard, Frazier, and a backside tight end or H-back, whatever you want to call him. Some people refer to him as the F. He's the second puller through. Sailor, again, has this kind of canted, stance where he's looking 5 to 8 degrees to his right off the midline. In any case, Miller, a really nice job cutting off the backside D tackle, in my opinion. I think he does. He's very strong, first of all. He's got great steps, in this case, stepping with his play side foot, his left foot. The play's going away from him. In addition, let me just highlight this for a second. Mahogany and McLaughlin stepping on each other's feet. That's because McLaughlin knows where the ball is going to his left, the left-hand side of our screen. And Mahogany is using a particular double team / combo technique with Larry Borum that involves him stepping with his inside foot first to plant, get power for the second step to sync up with Borum getting to that B-gap defender. In any case, since Sailor is not going down the midline, Murphy is violently screaming off the edge here. So this collision happens in such a way that the only possible avenue for Sailor is to be straight down the midline and then veer underneath of the tight end. I think that's Jackson Meeks. But that's not the steps that Sailors is taking, number one. Number two, Altmaier's not really giving him the midline. So what I mean is the midline is what occurs here on this blue line, just inside the left hash. Well, Sailor can't go downhill on that path because Altmaier is literally on it for a moment. So this play was kind of doomed because of the way that Murphy played it. Essentially, he blows it up, and unfortunately for Blake Miller, his guy, the defensive tackle he was taking over, ends up getting involved in the tackle because Sailor, had to veer this back against the idea or the design of the concept. This ball's not supposed to go here where it does. It's supposed to go in this direction. And because Miller's cutting off this D tackle, Sailor veers it back. I should say because of Murphy's disruption, Sailor veers it back, and the guy that Miller was dealing with is able to get in on the tackle. There just really wasn't much option there for Sailor. That canted stance, I'm not going to point it out on every play. You feel free to focus on it if you want. I just found it interesting. The very next snap here, it's going to be a running back screen to our right-hand side of our screen. Again, Sailor's is kind of canted, unless my eyes are deceiving me. There's going to be a penalty on Mahogany here. There's a twist off the right side that I think kind of delays Frazier getting out of there and is the only thing that really possibly prevents him from getting a penalty. So here's McLaughlin and Mahogany working together to combo for a moment before the play action fake between the quarterback and the running back. And then Mahogany will release, and unfortunately he crosses the line of scrimmage these things occur a lot. And if you watch college football, and especially high school, these offensive linemen are past the line. In the last 6, 8, 10 years, it's gotten really worse. RPOs is a load of shit, to be honest with you, because linemen are downfield consistently, and referees have, throughout the course of the years, they have slowly allowed guys to get further downfield. Now, look, I'm not saying that this shouldn't be called, but if they're going to call it, they should call it for everyone. And in this case, Mahogany is certainly past the line of scrimmage. Frazier is close to overtaking him just before the ball is released. It's a short gain anyway, so it doesn't necessarily matter. Basically, you get the idea that both of those guys, Frazier and Mahogany, I think they combined for 5 penalties, 3 on Frazier, 2 on Mahogany. Each have their own individual strengths, certain things they do well beyond just this game I'm talking about last night, but they've got to clean up the penalties. In order for either one of them to get on the field, in 2026, you can't be having 2 or 3 penalties in a particular half of football. 2 plays after that penalty, here's a 3rd and 13. It's a 4-man rush by the Bengals. Actually, my apologies. This is the very next snap. This should be labeled 2nd down. That's mislabeled. So I think Miller is expecting a stunt here off the right-hand side after the snap. I think he's expecting a stunt between those 2 guys there, and it never shows up. But his takeoff is kind of slow, if you ask me, number one, and he appears to be staying extremely flat, as if he's expecting the possibility of this D tackle to go upfield and Murphy to go underneath. So Miller and Frazier would then have to switch that. That never occurs. I'm just letting you know what I think I see here. You've got McLaughlin and Mahogany comboing once again. Mafe one-on-one off the left side with the left tackle, even though he's got the possibility of the running back Sailors chipping right here. And then what happens late is, because the center is left alone with 98, 98 is extremely strong, very athletic. I think it's Slayton. So you'll see him be able to take his right arm and then catapult McLaughlin off of him and get his hands up. I guess that Altmaier is trying to throw it to this receiver here in that window, in that open space, to be honest with you. I think Miller might have been surprised by the upfield rush, and that's why the outside hand wasn't as strong, and Murphy was able to use a series or collection of moves to kind of destroy that outside hand sooner or quicker, more efficiently than he did in a lot of other reps last night. I felt like Miller and Murphy was a pretty good matchup, and Miller got the best of it, most of the time. Murphy couldn't turn the corner here until late. Didn't matter from a Lions perspective, because 98 gets his hands up to redirect the football. I felt like Cincinnati's DBs were they had great timing on their challenges in certain situations. Definitely the 2 slants to Tesla A couple of other third downs here, it happened to be a D tackle getting his hands up on a second down, like I said, that I had mislabeled. I think we're into the next possession, the third. It's a 1st and 10, and a really sick play by Jacob Sailors. We're focusing on the offensive line, but this is unique, in my opinion. It's a play action where Altmaier will have time to look down the field against a base defense, a base look for Cincinnati. It's a 12 personnel group for the Lions, so they're getting the base defensive structure. And you do have an interesting dynamic that occurred multiple times in this game whereby the inside linebacker, I think it happened when the safety was rolled down or attached to him, and he saw any kind of open window. So an open window is going to occur here with the left tackle working in this direction to our right, and Conklin hanging out on the backside. And so the inside linebacker is just gone. I'm not saying that's an automatic for them in every situation, but I think they had particular calls. Saw it twice, enough for me to, believe that the inside linebacker had an automatic read there. But in any case, off the play action, Altmaier faking to Sailors. Look at Sailor help McLaughlin here with the nose tackle that kind of ended up slanting or stunting to the right a little bit. And the cool thing is, he'll then sneak out into the flats, into the right-hand side of our screen. Altmaier still looking downfield. You guys barely or have some awareness of it there. That receiver going over the middle of the field, but they've got a second-level defender in that window. That's where Altmaier is looking, in my opinion. After the block, helping out the center, Jacob Sailor slipped out into the flats and ended up picking up, I believe, a 16-yard gain. Really cool, if you ask me, to see the force that he played with. Sailors, that is, despite, I think, suffering an ankle injury at some point on a 24 or 25-yard run. This off-play action out of 12 personnel, sliding out into the flats. Maybe the boundary side flat defender was too focused on the quarterback, but reflects really well for Sailors as far as his contact balance, his ability to keep his feet moving on his path, in this case making himself available as a late outlet for the quarterback, like I said, getting 16 yards. We're in the same possession. In fact, I think it's the very next snap. Detroit's in 12 personnel once again. You got the two tight ends set up off the left side. Really nice job by Mahogany, working up to the second level. It doesn't necessarily matter because the backside edge is going to redirect really well off this play action. Altmaier's back is turned to him. I'm talking about that edge defender who's spot shadowed or magnified there off the right-hand side of our screen. Everyone's working to the left. The two tight ends are stepping to the left. That's Cassius Howell right there, the Bengals' second-round pick. He'll split these two tight ends. Miller, really nice job, I think, taking over this defensive tackle off the backside, at least initially, if you ask me. And then he can't sustain it long enough that D tackle isn't able to then get triangulated. We're talking about this D tackle here, whose helmet is now winning. And you've got the backside defensive end, that aforementioned D tackle that Miller was trying to scoop, another defensive tackle, and then I think Cassius Howell off the front side here. As far as Mahogany goes, check him out working to his left immediately. The center is one-on-one with the nose tackle, and this is Mahogany closing off that inside linebacker. I'm slowing it down some. Perhaps I need to let it run multiple times for you guys to see it. It doesn't end up being a successful play for Detroit, but from a Mahogany standpoint, his steps, maybe he's not punching that guy enough to help out Borum. Certainly the center is left all alone. 52 has seen the ball handed off, closes down. Cassius Howell's going to be able to split between these two tight ends. That's the real breakdown, if you ask me. Those two situations there. Really cool rep from a Mahogany standpoint. I don't think that the center did a bad job. In my opinion, this is just his relative weakness when he's left totally alone and he's got to reach someone who's got him out leveraged. We're talking about the helmet of that Bengals nose tackle there compared to the helmet for the center. Certainly he's out leveraged. Now he does get a win here by getting his helmet in front, but can he sustain that? All right, that's the issue that I wonder about, long term as you get against, better competition, better nose tackles. But look, I thought the Bengals D line is underrated, to be honest with you. Cassius Howell had 3 plays that were he doesn't get credit for the tackles, mind you, but he really makes the play. I'll show you another one here in a moment. This just happened to be one where him and the backside edge defender, I think 52, were the primary problem for the Lions trying to get some positive yards. All right, here's the ensuing play. It's a 3rd and 3, and once again, Cassius Howell is going to be pretty disruptive here, play a role. Frazier is going to pull from the right-hand side of the Lions offense. We're talking about right here. Initially, when I watched this, I thought that Frazier looked slow and kind of clunky, but on rewatch, and once you got the film in my hands, you see that Howell stunts to the inside. Again, Howell is there magnified or spot shadowed. He stunts to the inside, and you get this natural gap exchange between him and 42. So look at their pre-snap alignment, right? Howell is further to the left on our screen. His helmet is further to the left than that inside linebacker. They're going to exchange it. That's what I refer to as a gap exchange, meaning Howell stunts to the inside linebacker slow plays it, lag technique, gap exchange, whatever you want to call it. Basically, I didn't think that live speed, I thought Frazier was really slow getting out of there. But now I recognize there's just nobody to block both of these two players. The Lions don't have enough guys available, in my opinion. I don't think Mahogany looks really good here, in my opinion, trying to down block on this defensive tackle. I'll let it run multiple times. Mahogany is 73 right here. See the defensive tackle basically able to shrug him off and then possibly get involved with the play as well. I think Mahogany's better in his zone concepts. He's really good on combo blocks, very similar to McLaughlin. I'm not sure that Mahogany is a down block guy that's going to move people. In any case, once again, in my opinion, you got two issues with this play. Howell pinching inside, the edge defenders causing problems, number one. He basically compressed any run lane, very similar to what Myles Murphy did earlier on that F counter to Jacob Sailors. And then there's no one to block this inside linebacker 42 at all. You can see free run to sit down. I didn't show you guys the old 22, to confirm what formation it was. This, of course, sets up another opportunity for Tesla on a slant into the boundary, and it's contested, but that's to be expected. I mean, it's a slant. There's not going to be a ton of separation on three-step slant in the NFL level into the boundary. The boundary side corner is going to be a badass every week, and so you're going to have to make some of those tough catches, and unfortunately Tesla had two opportunities last night and didn't make either one. We've switched into the second quarter here. Like I said, all of this analysis is coming from the first half because Blake Miller and most of the offensive linemen were done at halftime. So second quarter here, another 12 personnel group. The only difference is one of the tight ends is set up in the slot, and the other tight end is set up in the backfield. Tesla is off screen to our right, off of this play action. He gets tangled up a little bit with the corner, but that's not the reason why this play is unsuccessful. It's not. It's really Miles Frazier who gets called for a penalty in a one-on-one situation. Bengals are in their 3-4 look, so base defense. Kind of walk the boundary side safety up 37. He disappears from the screen for you guys. Frazier's posture is just broken really quickly here. We're talking about happening right here. As an aside, Miller off the left-hand side of our screen doing a pretty good job anchoring down against number 90. I'm not exactly sure who that is. I think it's Chris Jenkins. 96 with a really sudden, quick win against Frazier. This is the type of thing that destroys offensive flow when you lose that quickly. McLaughlin tries to peel back and help out. I think he's superbly aware because initially you've got a combo off the play action with Mahogany and McLaughlin. And then I think the center sees Frazier losing or that he has lost. And so he tries to peel off and help out. It's too late. 98 is there and Frazier commits a hold. 96 had it's just a sick move, if you ask me, on Frazier. And again, talking about referencing how teams look at film, I wonder that the next time we see the Lions in preseason next week, if you're not going to see some immediate swim moves against Frazier to see how he handles it. Here, not very well. I thought the penalty, initially watching this live, I thought they called the penalty on Miller. And I thought, that doesn't look right. He's just anchored down. Fortunately, they called it, both fortunately and unfortunately, they called it on Frazier, deservedly so. I do have 3 more plays here, but as far as evaluation, I'll talk a little bit about this at the end of the video. For me, based on the offensive linemen we had on the field that you see here for Detroit, large gap exists between Miller and then the next two guys, which as far as talent level for me is Mahogany and perhaps McLaughlin. I'm talking about guys that I have seen execute on the field. To me, Miller, sticks out like a sore thumb. I'll give you a little bit more of a summary judgment at the end, but really, as far as Miller goes, we got what we expected. I actually, in one of my draft preview videos, I actually projected him to the Lions, or hoped that he would go there. I don't think the gap between these two, Mahogany and Frazier, is very large, but it's significant in two regards. One-on-one pass pro, I think Mahogany's better, and zone combo ability. Although on this play, it reflects pretty well as far as Frazier goes. So this is a run concept away. Again, you see, when I say away, I'm talking about away from Blake Miller. Again, you see sailors in this kind of canted or turned stance. Initially, I thought it was because they were trying to maybe slow him down on run concepts to this direction. I don't think I noticed it until maybe the second quarter, something like that. But Frazier, Miller, and the center do a really nice job, in my opinion, on this run concept. All the offensive lines working to their left or our right-hand side of the screen. Check out Miller just staying on 96. I love how many times his hands continue to try to reset or rework into the framework of 96's body. Don't know who 96 is at all. I do know that Mahogany is matched up over here one-on-one with Chris Jenkins, and I feel like Frazier does a really nice job of bumping this a little bit and then working up to the second level to 47, who's a pretty good football player. On the backside, the tight end and the receiver, 17, are each trying to dig out the edge defender and the nickel defender and create this kind of wind back lane for Jacob Sailors. You can see he cuts it directly off of Miller's block. I think you get a sense, especially on this play, but hopefully throughout this whole video, of the range that Miller has. Meaning, on run concepts, he's good on run concepts to this side. He's good on run concepts to this side. In addition, he's good on pass sets at this angle or maybe jump sets. The idea here for me in bringing that up is certain offensive linemen, especially ones that have been drafted in the last couple of years, they're really only good on run plays to their left or their right. To use a basketball analogy, I think Miller can drive by you to his right or his left, or he can pull up and shoot the jumper. This is another play action opportunity. Dobbs is now in the game. I should have noted that a moment ago. I do wonder if Miller expects some help from the tight end over here. There's a jump set, and 52 does, in fact, end up threatening. 52, the edge defender that Miller is assigned to block. The left tackle jump sets also, and he doesn't have any help over there. Cassius Howe jumps to the inside. I think Cassius Howe reacts to this jump set over here by moving to the inside, but the only difference is the running back smacks him in the mouth. A really nice job in pass pro by 34. As far as Miller goes, I think he might be expecting some help from the tight end. But, who's to say whether I'm right or wrong? Just haven't seen his arms end up in this position at all in this game, really. I'm not a huge fan of playing with outside arms. Some guys do it often. I feel like it opens you up to allowing the defensive lineman to make contact with your chest, your pecs, or half a man on you and be able to get by, which I feel like 52 is kind of generating here. He'll get close enough to Dobbs that it provides some consternation or concern. Howe's reaction is to a jump set. Running back picked him up, like I said. Dobbs is looking off play action. I had the Detroit stream. So Tim something, I forget. They did a nice job. I enjoyed listening to them. They talked about how shitty the Cincinnati chili is, which people up in that area love it. But in any case, I didn't have a problem with this throw. They said that, Dobbs kind of put the tight end at risk, or it was a risky throw. We lose perspective of it here, but neither one of these guys are safeties converging in a manner that they could hit the tight end and end up hurting him. I think it's Conklin. But as far as Miller goes, let's get back to that for a moment. You can see when the ball was thrown, 52, the guy that he was blocking, is close enough that if the coverage holds up for Cincinnati here and Dobbs got to hold on to the football, right? You got the opportunity for a sack, a strip, a quarterback hit, whatever. Probably the least effective pass pro rep that I saw for Blake Miller last night. This will be the last play that I talk about here. I think we're 13 plays deep at this point. I'm not sure what people want. Sometimes I enjoy making short videos of the 3 to 4 minute variety here for these two preseason ones that I've done first. Ahmed Hassanin and now Blake Miller on the offensive line. We're talking about 30 minutes plus. In any case, it's a 2nd and 6. This is going to be Dobbs' scramble off the right side. Initially, when I watched it live, I thought the pressure came from this side, which would mean, Blake Miller, and then turns out from the end zone angle, you'll get a really good view here of a couple of things. So first, Mahogany helps the center and then leaves him. So we're talking about his hand helping against 91, but his eyes looking to this side. He'll peel off to Cassius Howe to possibly help out Larry Borum. In addition to that, you got a really nice job, if you ask me, of retracting his hands by Blake Miller. So Blake Miller, this is not the exact same technique, even though his hands end up on the outside here. You can't see his right hand at all. It's not the exact same technique. I think he's trying to elicit the hand of 52 and then retract or pull back his own hand such that 52 can't swat his down. And I think it's a pretty effective example of the pass set variety that Blake Miller offers. Because Mahogany left McLaughlin on his own, that's what allows 91 to push or kind of get McLaughlin pushed back into Josh Dobbs' lap. From a coverage standpoint, I have no idea what's going on, why Dobbs isn't throwing the football, maybe a mix-up or confusion post-snap about what Cincinnati was going to be in. And again, live speed watching this, I thought 52 pressured from that side, and Miller, possibly got beat. You can, of course, confirm here that that is not the case. In this case, 91 got some pressure against the center because Mahogany left him. I do like watching Dobbs. He's a fun guy to watch. We, of course, hope that he doesn't get on the field. It's nothing personal. Goff is just, 2 or 3 levels above. If you didn't know how athletic Josh Dobbs is, you got an idea of it there with that scramble. Give a summary here at the end. Maybe Miller gets some time in game 2, but that's it for me. I believe the coaches have probably seen enough. He belongs. I think that's pretty obvious. To start. The difference between him and Borum, I didn't mention it because I think it's massive. The difference between Miller and Frazier is similarly massive. I think Frazier is very prone to penalties. Miller, very versatile, athletic, well-trained, disciplined. Maybe if there's one thing that could be a problem long-term, it is it's the outside hands, which show up sometimes, but I think there's a difference in the last play that I showed you where he's retracting strategically versus the previous snap where he's jumping and kind of grabbing. I didn't see that very much. Frazier versus Mahogany, I guess that's closer, right, from a performance standpoint last night. I personally think Mahogany's a better player, but he's got to prove it. Each of them had trouble with penalties last night. I left out one of the pass pro situations where Mahogany got beat. I think he's better there in one-on-one pass pro. But I expect Detroit to have them competing. Juice Scruggs is a part of it. I know he could fit in at some point. As far as the center goes, he's definitely got skills, especially in zone combo situations. Pretty good feet. I did spend some time 4 or 5 days ago watching 2024 film of him during his lone season at Ohio State. He's a little more athletic here than I perceived in some of those game films. I had him against Penn State, against Oregon, and against Iowa. I think he's very good in zone schemes, quick to adjust to what the D-line is doing. He's not a people mover in a gap scheme. In my opinion, McLaughlin and Mahogany fit well together from a zone standpoint, from an awareness standpoint, but they're not going to move the heavier, bigger defensive tackles one-on-one in a gap scheme. So, how does Detroit and Drew Petzing adjust to that? I don't know. If you were to insert Radulich and Sewell into this offensive line that we saw last night, huge difference, right? I like the depth they have overall, although things didn't look great on the inside with 5 penalties between 2 guys. The run game was inconsistent. I know that the Lions finished with 129 yards on the ground. Don't get me wrong, that's a significant number, but I felt like some of that was 2 chunk plays. Early on in the game, Cincinnati's defensive line caused problems. You guys let me know if you have as much concerns about the offensive line now as you did maybe during or just thereafter the first game last night. I don't have any issues with Miller at all. I'm just as confident in his ability to start and perform. Maybe some speed bumps along the way initially. If that's going to occur, my guess would be it's with topside rushers, not necessarily speed rushers, topside guys who can threaten to the outside, but then counter with speed to power, like a Miles Murphy, to be honest with you, or a Boye Mafe. And I thought he played well against those guys. He showed the talent. the movement ability, the awareness, the size, the length, all of the things that Detroit saw to make him their first round pick. Interior offensive line, definitely up for grabs, right, with the injury to Cade Mays. I didn't edit the second half of the O-line film for obvious reasons because those guys were, pretty much off the field. But if you enjoyed this one, please let me know in the comment section. If you're not aware, likes and comments help the video perform well. Actually, let's do it this way. I ended up with a couple videos recently, like 3, 4, 5,000 views and like 100 likes. Like, if you don't like the video, tell me why. Tell me why you don't like the video in terms of actually clicking the button. Because what I'd like to do is produce better content like now, this weekend, and throughout the 2026 season to generate, likes that are hopefully commensurate with the amount of views that I get. If you think other Lions fans would enjoy this video as well as my summary at the end here about Blake Miller and the offensive line overall, then please consider also grabbing a link to this video and sharing it out on social media so other Lions fans can enjoy it as well. Appreciate you guys' time.